Have we escaped a communist fate by ending the Obama-Biden era? Well, there's no one better to ask than the author of Mao's America, Xi Van Fleet. She joins us today. I want to remind you that her best-selling book warns about the authoritarianism that she lived under when she herself lived under Maoist era in communist China. And she has been warning for years about the parallels that she has experienced living in both places as an American now. Now, everyone knows that China is not the most free place in the world. I don't think, though, that we see these parallels creeping up on us until they're actually there. And a lot of times we think it's under the guise of good intentions. But the parallels in her book between the Mao and the Biden era were shocking. So she joins us to discuss. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, really, I want to tell you what I found the most shocking about the parallels of Maoist China and Biden America were the following: the normalization of criminals. Yes, check. The breakdown of the family. The breakdown of gender roles. I didn't know that. Lowering the standard of education. Punishing anyone with any modicum of financial independence. All of these are ways that you can break down people to control them. I want to go over them one by one, but first I want to ask you an overarching question. Is that now that the Biden era is ending in a matter of days, we have an incoming Trump administration. Can an incoming Trump administration actually end those things? How do you see that happening, if at all?
No, I think this is not something that came over here overnight, and it's not going to go away overnight. And I think communism is a virus. It's just like COVID. And now possibly we reduce it into a cold, but it's not going to go away. It's something that we have to understand, and we have to be ready to fight it long term. So it's not going to go away.
Well, the Chinese now don't live in a necessarily free world, but they don't live like this any longer. So the Chinese can pursue a good education. They can travel abroad. They can. There are things they have now that obviously they didn't have when you were growing up. So how did that evolve?
Well, it's because Mao took China to a dead end, took the CCP to a dead end. By the time he died, China was at the brink of total collapse, and the whole communist ideology was bankrupt. They really have to revive, and how? By introducing or by bringing in the foreign capitals. So that looks like China, this is very misleading. They look like China is a capitalist country to a lot of uninformed American. It's not. It is a communist country, and their goal is not to improve the lives of the Chinese people, but to secure their power. So anything they do, that's their primary motivation. So now they have better education, but the education also is indoctrination. It just changed. And now it's like a patriotic, they call it, Xi Jinping called it patriotic education. But it's not about love of the country. It's the love of the party. So to understand CCP will help us to understand woke. And because what woke is about is Maoism. So we have to go back and to see what happened during the Cultural Revolution. And all the things that we are now familiar with has been really, really used to bring about that disastrous revolution. Anything about weaponize the youth and identity politics. And it's not called defund the police. It's to totally destroy the criminal justice system. Everything is similar to what happened in the Cultural Revolution. And you will say, why? Why Mao did all this? Power. Everything.
Right. So let's start there, because now we think of the Chinese as high test scores, but you tell the story of how you went to school and learned next to nothing except the party indoctrination. And so Can you compare that to the standards of education in the United States, that we continue to lower them under the guise of acceptance and tolerance? But that's not tolerance, that's keeping people poor.
Yeah, this is so confusing to a lot of people, but it's very important to understand why Mao did what he did and why she did something look like different. Mao was launching a revolution. Why he did that is he felt like he was losing power, and he want to launch his revolution in order to get power back. And so he did not want people well educated. He want everyone to be a revolutionary, follow his order and take down the system and destroy the society so that he can take power. And what happened now is Xi Jinping has power. He has absolute power. He doesn't want chaos. He wants his people to build his version of the socialism, and then he wants people to study. He wants the kids to be good at math, good at the basic skills. But it's not for the benefit of the people. It's the benefit of his power. So that is the difference. We are at the stage that it's a revolution. Woke is a revolution. Some people want to take power. In order to do that, they have to do what Mao did: destroy everything, cultural, tradition, gender role, just destroy everything so that they can have
Talk to me about decriminalizing laws as well, and allowing the criminals free reign on anyone's property, because that is something we've seen. We've argued about FBI crime statistics, but empirically, most of us who live in the United States know crime is skyrocketing. It's a hell. That is a way of subjugating people by allowing the law abiders to be terrorized by criminals, right?
Yeah, it's the chaos. It's to create chaos. Mao famously said, we need chaos. We need chaos every 7 years, because from the chaos, we can bring about a new order. It's like it is really like the reset. It is really like what they said: burn everything down and build back better. And so that is something that why it's so similar. They have the same goal. Their goal is to usher in the chaos so that they can, through the process, they can get absolute power.
Now, how is that sold to communist China? Because to us, Americans, it's sold as compassion, that these people live in poverty. They don't have an opportunity to earn for themselves. They don't have the intellectual bandwidth to do any better. So we need to feel sorry for them because this is their only path towards success. Was that a similar message in communist China?
Well, similar but different. History never repeats itself, but it always rhymes. Okay, here we were told that America is a racist country. The system is systemically racist. That's why we have inequality. And in order to bring about equity to everyone, which is a Marxist terminology, we have to destroy the system. By what? By DEI and by the government determining who should have what. And how did Mao sell it to the Chinese people? It's a little different. He told the young people, we are a socialist country, but there are a lot of people in power. They want to bring back capitalism and make us suffer again, made us be exploited. And that's why those people are called capitalist roaders. And so he told the young people, his army is the young Red Guard. We have to get our power back from those capitalist roaders. We have to take them down. And I was too young, but I know they are talking about capitalist roaders. I did not understand what capitalism is. I just know it is evil. It is bad, because we're all from the same indoctrination camp, the public schools, right? So capitalism is bad. Those people want to take us back to capitalism. No way. We have to destroy the whole system. I hope that it's clear to people that it is a parallel. And that the parallel is condemn the existing system to destroy it so you can bring in something new. And here they bring in woke, they're bringing Maoism, extreme radical version of Marxism.
I find this tough because it preys upon good intentions of young people. And we see that happening right now because young people think they're sold T-shirts at Target that say capitalism is bad, down with the patriarchy, it's on babies' onesies. They mean well. They mean that they want less privileged people than them to have more, which is a good intention because they maybe feel guilty for their own privilege, right? And so that ideology makes them torture people who have something, who don't feel like they do. So how can we protect young people from being indoctrinated against their own community? I mean, when I see this, sometimes I think, okay, young person, just, go to Saudi Arabia, see how you like it there then, if that's how you feel. How do we keep governments from preying on the good intentions of young people?
I always say the key to de-brainwash or deprogram those young people is history, because they don't know history. They do not know the history of communism. Those are the same kind of narrative that been used before. And the result is there for everyone to see if they are taught of the real history. How did Chinese communism succeed in China? And the slogan is equity, that you follow the Communist Party and we will bring equity to everyone. We'll get the land from the landowners. We'll give it to poor peasants. We'll get the property from the factory owners. We'll equally distribute it so everyone has the same. And that is what the narrative they sold, and they absolutely sold it, and people bought it, follow him, and then they realize what is equity? It's the government decide who should have what, and what's the result is end up everyone has nothing.
And do you see a parallel in this discussion about the murder of the United Health CEO because he represented a system that was worth being tore down? And so we see these communist bent people celebrating this, forgetting that he's a human being like the rest of us, and they can disrupt the system if they actually maybe study it and try harder. So what was your reaction to that reaction online celebrating this?
It's very familiar. That's what happened in China in 1949, right after the CCP took over power. They had this so-called land reform, and all the landowners, their property was taken. Not only that, by being a landowner, that is your crime, and anything down to you is justified. Torture, beating, humiliation, and during the process, 2 million landlords were killed, and they're killed. So because the landlord, that's it. Their crime is that they had wealth, and this is exactly the kind of mentality here. He deserved it because he is wealthy and he's in charge of a company that somehow profited from exploiting people. Same narrative, absolutely. In the human life, it's not in the equation. It's all about the wealth is the source of all evils.
Now, do you find it ironic that Chinese have a word for basically the white left or woke? They call it, can you pronounce this better for me? Baizhou? Is that Baizu?
Baizuo.
And so if they can see it from abroad, from their less free country, what does that tell us? And what can you explain this word for us?
History is repeating. When I say repeating, I mean rhymes. What's going on here is Americans' cultural revolution, and people afar can see it because they know history. And that's why people mocking, especially those white liberals. So they're not those people who want free stuff, right? Like in China, those peasants want free land. And no, not like here that people want to get free peace from the government. No, they are different kind of people. They want to help those that they think need help. And so they are the ones that they believe that communism is the way to help the others. So they promote it. And we have those useful idiots in China too. And those are the intellectuals who helped the communist revolution. And guess what happened to them? They all end up in the gulags because they eventually was wondering after the revolution, hey, this is not what we think. This is not what we signed up for. You dare to challenge, you dare to question, off they go to the gulags. And this is again the history they do not know. So
Yeah.
As I said, when we educate American people and the kids especially about the communism and about Chinese Cultural Revolution, people can see the parallel for themselves. But we don't have control of our education system. We do not have control of higher education. That is the problem, and that they have control of academia since the 30s. That's why today people do not know the history, and they do not know what happened in China, which is so similar to what's going on here, because they can tell. Since they can tell, they believe the lies. And that is our challenge.
I think that, when my children, who are middle schoolers and high schooler, ask about communism because it's presented as this utopian, everyone shares resources type thing, but it's never actually worked, I remind them that every communist experiment has ended in starvation. In fact, I should make a shirt.
Absolutely.
Communism equals starvation. And why is that? Is because you're putting the power in the hands of the few that cannot be trusted. And there's no say, there's no egalitarian say in what happens in communism. One thing that you mentioned here that sort of popped up current events, you said that those that helped the communist revolution ended up in the gulag. And I couldn't help but think of the video that Mark Zuckerberg posted today, basically saying, I'm sorry, I have worked with the Biden era to censor content on the internet. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm going to work with President Trump to make sure that other countries don't do it either. We had no choice. That's the way it was. Can you come back from that? He is one that helped the communist revolution. I don't feel very forgiving. What do we do with that?
I don't either. And for people who don't stand for the basic principle, make what America is, and those people cannot be trusted. And so people tell me that I'm courageous, I speak out. I'm not courageous. I am defending myself because I've lived under the slavery of communism. I know where this is leading to. And I am in it because I want to save myself from living under communism one more time. I'm fighting for myself. So I think he does not understand. He does not understand what makes this country free. If we cannot even speak up our mind, there's no freedom. There's just no freedom. So I will see, hopefully he'll come around, but I'm not quick to say, oh, everything is fine.
Right, because you have to have spoken about freedom when it was hard, not when it's allowed. Yes. That freedom matters when it's not allowed, what we've just been through. So now to sort of come around this side of the table because of who's in power is unacceptable. I feel like it can't be that person. We need some sort of new person who has been speaking about freedom all along to lead that platform, or else there is no trust. There's no regaining trust when you shift with the wind. And then those of us who were punished for saying certain things during the Biden era, at least we know we had the legitimate intentions. One of the things that you talk about is, calling everyone a racist is a way to concentrate power in the central government, because they can tell you then how to behave, what to say. In your experience, is America a racist place compared to where you've come from?
It's not. It is absolutely not. And I told a lot of people that the people that who travel abroad, and when they come back, they have something to compare with. And this is a problem. This is a really, really problem of America is people don't know. They have no reference point. They feel like, here we should absolutely, everyone should be the same. And the slightest so-called disrespect is labeled as racism. And that is, during the Cultural Revolution, we have a different word. That is counter-revolutionary. And that is just like a racist. It's a label that fit anyone. And that is a way for them to control the speech. Not only speech, control your thought. So you self-censor so much that we start to tell lies. And that is the result of communism. And this is going on in America. We started to self-censor. Even the kids now, in school, they learn that they have to think 3 times before they say, because if they misgender someone, they can be expelled from school. Mm-hmm. And
right.
Yeah.
Even my 8-year-old, I was asking a question about a family in our school that was Black. And I somehow said, I just observed that they were Black. I didn't say anything, general about that. I just asked. And my daughter, she said, that's racist. And I said, what's racist about it? And she said, well, you called them Black. I'm like, you can name other people's cultures. Yeah. It's not racist to make observations. Or I said, if his name was João and I asked if he was Portuguese, would that be racist? It's just, you can make observations. It's okay to do, but she's being taught to be so stinking sensitive that her speech is by default controlled.
And this is something I always tell people. They say, we don't see people look like me in the government here and there, whatever. I said, you know what? When I was in China, Chairman Mao looked like me. And what happened? Yeah.
Right.
So it's absolutely, they use it. It's just weapon. So that now is what a person look like is the most important thing. That's, of course, it's the identity politics that Mao weaponized to launch his revolution.
Right. Now, I worry when I read your book about criminalizing certain or attacking certain groups for their success. And I see in the United States that crime on Asians is increasing, that Asians are asked not to participate in certain diversity groups because they don't count. They're punished for their success in the United States, which has brought on this H-1B visa controversy around the holidays with Elon Musk saying he absolutely needs to hire from abroad. And so why do you think that Asians are this now targeted group in the United States, if that's in fact the case?
Because it's the problem for their narrative. Because the narrative is that this is a racist country and it's only for the white people. And any minority, they have a disadvantage. They will be marginalized, that discriminated against, and Asian prove them wrong. So Asian created a problem. And for that, they label us white adjacent. And so because of that, we're no longer counted as white. So you can discriminate us because we're no longer a minority. And so to me, it's a lot of people, you will be surprised, voted the Chinese community voted Democrat automatically because they feel like they're the victim. And then the Democrats will be their protector. Until recently, they realized that their kids can't go to a good high school or university, even though the scores is very high, is because they're considered the oppressors. They're considered the privileged. And they realize this is absolutely politics. And I think more and more people are waking up. And I think this, and I can see it around me, people that realize that and you're really for your self-destruction if you continue to vote for the Democrats.
Right. But I have heard statistics recently, and I'm sorry I did not bring data to back this up, that crime on Asian-owned businesses is up, and the government sort of allows it. It's just not a group in certain places, such as California, that is more protected than others. So is it such that the government is somehow sending this message that some of your oppression is due to Asian success to the masses?
I'm not quite sure about that, because for the crime, remember a few years ago, 2020 or there is a case of a white man went to Asian massage parlor and killed some Asians.
Yes.
And they call it Asian hate. And then here in DC, they have demonstrations against Asian hate. And then, of course, it's because it's white. Okay. And they have been waiting for another incident, and they haven't found one. What kind of crime we witness now? It is mostly Asians being targeted by Black people. In you can see in subways in New York City on the streets, and the businesses in the California or blue cities, and then the government don't want to see anything because it doesn't fit the narrative. It's not the white people who are the racist attacking the Chinese minorities, and so it's all about the narrative.
Yes. Yeah. And I would like to see that addressed under the Trump administration, given the fact that the Biden administration has refused.
Yes. But, if there's a white criminal, and we'll see it all over the news, just like the same thing. If the victim is white, we don't hear a thing, right? If the victim, this is same dynamic.
Right. Now, you say that China opened for business in the late 80s and the Clinton era paved the way for China's fall to the World Trade Organization. What do you think Trump's relationship with China will be, and what is it that you hope it will be?
Trump is the first president since the fall of China, which was 1949, that really, really take on China and as our adversary. And I think that this is about time. This is about time for people to understand. And China now is not only our adversary, it is the infiltration of this country is everywhere. They bought our elites. They are in our institutions. And now, before we heard Confucius Institute in universities. Now they're targeting schools, public schools. Why? Because they want by influence. And so, and now, and just think about it, the balloon just flying over and we did not know what to do. And this is just absolutely insane. This, I always say, this is a problem. More about the traders within than the CCP itself, because all this was allowed. They buy our land, try to buy an inch of land in China. You won't be able to. And the TikTok is everywhere. They banned Facebook, they banned X, they banned everything in China. So it's us, it's more than us than the CCP. So it is Clinton, it is Bush, it is Obama, it is all of them, Carter and all of them. And now Trump is going to turn this around.
I guess my take on it is that I have not wanted a war with China in terms of blood and guns and a land war. I want a chance to actually compete with China. I want our businesses to be able to compete with them without regulation. Chinese businesses don't have environmental regulation to stop them. I would like to compete on the world stage for innovation and things like that when I think of China as an adversary. But do you think that this could rise to the level of military conflict?
I don't think so. I think that power through strength. How do you say that? Yeah, I think that's the way to go with the CCP. And they cannot compete with us. They have no innovation because communism does not encourage innovation. The only thing they can do is steal. If we let them steal our technology, they cannot compete. How did China get rich? It's the seemingly endless cheap labor, right? No more. China has no more cheap labors, and China's environment is totally destroyed. They can't compete. They can only compete if they gave up the totalitarianism and then make China a free market economy. But they're not going to it's not going to happen as long as the CCP is in power.
Is there even a movement for that to happen? Would we know that?
Yeah, well, during the COVID, there is a white paper revolution, which lasted a few days. But here is the hope. The young people started to realize that the CCP is the problem. And so they demonstrated, and they even shouted out, "Down with the CCP," which really seldom happened throughout the history of the CCP. They said that, and there is a resistance, but it will be difficult, and that's for sure. And as long as we give them the fusion of blood, like give them investment, and then continue to do business with them at our cost, we are popping up this corrupt regime.
Right. Well, we certainly can't follow them culturally into a less free world. That's not who we are. We don't need to impose what we need while we don't even know what we need at this point because we've been in what you call communist chaos. So thank you so much for your time. I've been looking forward to speaking to you for quite some time since I read your book last year. I want to recommend again that everyone pick it up because you will see a mirror of American society in her description of Maoist China, and your jaw will hit the floor because you may not even have noticed. So the book, again, is Mao's America, and you can find her on X as X Van Fleet. It was a pleasure to meet you. I hope we speak again sometime. Thanks for coming on Redacted.
Well, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.